In a vibrant neighborhood pulsing with life, the sound of laughter and chatter filled the air, intertwining with the aroma of street food wafting from nearby vendors. Among the bustling crowd sat Jose, a kind-hearted homeless man, with a weathered cap pulled low over his brow and a scruffy beard that told stories of days gone by. His clothes were tattered, but his spirit was unbroken. Despite the hardships etched on his face, he wore a gentle smile that was a beacon of hope to those who crossed his path. On this particular day, Jose was perched on the sidewalk, leaning against a brick wall, watching the world unfold around him. A group of children raced past him, their laughter ringing like music. One little boy, perhaps no older than 6, paused to tie his shoelace. Spotting Jose, he grinned widely. "Hey, mister, do you know how to make a clown face?" Jose chuckled, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "I sure do, but it takes a special kind of magic." He leaned closer, lowering his voice conspiratorially. "First, you need a big nose like this." He pointed to his own nose, making a comical expression that sent the boy into fits of giggles. The boy mirrored his expression, puffing out his cheeks and crossing his eyes. "Like this?" "Exactly." Jose laughed, and for a moment, the weight of the world lifted from his shoulders. The boy's laughter was contagious, and other children began to gather, intrigued by the spectacle. They joined in, creating a cacophony of silliness that drew smiles from passers-by. As the children moved on, their laughter echoed down the street. Jose felt a warmth spread through him. He may not have had a home or possessions, but in moments like these, he felt rich in a way that transcended material wealth. He believed that kindness, however small, could light up even the darkest corners of life. Yet, as the sun climbed higher in the sky, a shift occurred in the atmosphere. Jose noticed a small figure across the street, sitting on the curb with her head buried in her hands. Her dark curls fell over her face, and her small shoulders shook with silent sobs. A sense of urgency washed over him, and without a second thought, he pushed himself off the ground, brushing off the dust from his pants. "Hey, little one," he called gently as he crossed the street, his heart heavy with concern. "What's wrong?" As he approached, he could see the girl's tear-streaked face, her big blue eyes shimmering with fear. "I can't find my daddy," she whimpered, her voice barely above a whisper. Jose knelt down to her level, his heart aching at her distress. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Emma," she replied, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. "Emma," he echoed softly, "I'm Jose, and I promise we'll find your daddy together. Can you tell me where you last saw him?" Emma looked up, her expression a mix of hope and uncertainty. "He was buying ice cream, but then I saw a puppy, and when I turned around, he was gone." "Puppies can be very distracting," Jose said with a gentle smile. "But don't worry, we'll retrace your steps. How about we start from the ice cream cart?" Without hesitation, Emma nodded, her tears slowly drying as she clung to the idea that perhaps a stranger could help her find her father. Jose felt a surge of determination. This little girl needed him, and in that moment, he realized that despite his own struggles, he had the power to make a difference. As they began to walk together, Jose felt a connection forming, a bond built on vulnerability and compassion. The noise of the neighborhood faded into the background, and all that mattered was Emma's safety. "You know," he said, trying to lighten the mood, "when I was your age, I got lost in a huge market. I thought I'd never find my way back." Emma's eyes widened, curiosity piqued. "Really? What happened?" "I met a kind lady who helped me find my mom. She told me that sometimes, when we feel lost, all we need to do is ask for help." With each step they took, Jose was reminded of the beauty in human connection, the threads that bind us together, even in the most unexpected circumstances. Little did he know, this simple act of kindness would set in motion a series of events that would forever alter the course of his life. As Jose knelt beside Emma, he dug into the pocket of his frayed jacket and pulled out his last coin, a small, tarnished quarter that gleamed dully in the afternoon sun. "Here," he said, holding the coin out to her. "You can buy something to eat while we wait for your father." Emma looked at the coin in his palm, her teary eyes widening in disbelief. "But that's your last money," she stammered, her voice a mix of awe and concern. Jose smiled gently, his weathered face softening. "I'm not hungry right now, and you look like you could use a bite. Just a little something to tide you over." He felt a warmth inside him, a flicker of hope igniting as he saw her hesitate, then reach out and accept the coin with a shy smile. "Thank you, mister," she said softly, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. Jose noticed how the corner of her lips curled upward, and it filled him with a sense of purpose. They settled onto the curb, the noise of the bustling street fading into the background as they found a moment of calm amidst the chaos. Jose watched as Emma clutched the coin tightly in her small hand, as if it were a precious gem. "What do you like to eat?" he asked, trying to distract her from her worries. "I like ice cream," she replied, her voice now brightening, "and pizza, but ice cream is my favorite. What about you?" Jose chuckled softly, the laughter bubbling up from deep within him. "I used to love ice cream too, especially on hot summer days. It was a special treat, but nowadays, I think I'd be happy with just a slice of bread." Emma frowned, her brow furrowing in concern. "That's not fair. You should have ice cream too." "Maybe one day," Jose said, his voice light and playful. "But for now, let's focus on you. Tell me, where were you going when you got lost?" Her face lit up as she began to speak. "I was with my daddy at the park. He said we could go to the ice cream truck after we played on the swings. But then I saw a butterfly and followed it, and when I turned around, I couldn't find him anymore." Jose nodded, his heart aching for her. "Butterflies are beautiful, aren't they? They remind me of freedom. I used to chase them as a boy, just like you." As Jose shared snippets of his past, he spoke of a time when he had dreams of being an artist, painting vibrant murals that would brighten the world around him. Emma listened intently, her earlier fears slowly fading as she became absorbed in his stories. "Did you really paint murals?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. "I did," he replied, his eyes sparkling with memory. "I wanted to fill the world with color and joy. But sometimes life takes us down unexpected paths." Emma tilted her head, her little brow furrowed in thought. "Like getting lost?" "Exactly," he smiled, his heart swelling with affection for the brave girl sitting beside him. "But remember, even when we get lost, there are always people willing to help us find our way again." As they sat in silence, a man in a sharp suit caught Jose's eye from a distance. He was tall and imposing, with a look of curiosity etched on his face. Jose's heart raced, anxiety gripping him as he recognized the potential judgment in the man's gaze. "Who is that?" Emma whispered, her voice barely above a hush. Jose swallowed hard, suddenly feeling the weight of his circumstances. "I don't know, sweetheart, but let's not worry about him. We have more important things to focus on, like finding your dad." But the man began to approach them, and Jose's hands clenched at his sides. He felt exposed, vulnerable, and a wave of shame washed over him. What would this stranger think of him, sitting on the ground with a lost little girl? Would he see him as just a homeless man, or would he recognize the kindness he was trying to extend? "Hey there," the man said, his tone friendly yet cautious. "Is everything all right?" Jose forced a smile, his voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside him. "We're just waiting for her father. She got lost in the park." The man's gaze shifted from Jose to Emma, who was now clutching the quarter tightly. "I see," he said, his expression softening. "I'm sure he'll be here soon." As the man knelt down to Emma's level, Jose's heart pounded in his chest. He watched, his anxiety still lingering, wondering how this encounter would unfold. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden hue over the neighborhood, Jose's heart raced as he stood before Mr. Thompson. The man, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, radiated authority and concern. "Thank you for helping my daughter," Mr. Thompson said, his voice deep and sincere. "I can't imagine what she must have gone through. Please, let me offer you something." He reached for his wallet, but Jose's instinct was to refuse. "Kindness shouldn't come with a price," Jose replied, his voice steady despite the flutter of anxiety in his stomach. "I didn't help Emma for money. I just wanted to make sure she was safe." Mr. Thompson's brow furrowed slightly, a mix of surprise and admiration crossing his face. "You're a rare man, Jose. Most would have jumped at the chance, but I insist you let me do something for you. You deserve it." As the tension in the air hung thick, Jose felt a warmth growing inside him, a spark of hope that had long been extinguished. "Really, sir, I appreciate the generosity, but I'm fine as I am. Just seeing Emma safe is reward enough." Mr. Thompson studied Jose for a moment, as if trying to decipher the man's soul. "Then how about sharing a meal with us? Emma would love it, and I would like to hear more about your story." Jose hesitated, glancing at Emma, who looked up at him with wide, hopeful eyes. I don't want to intrude," he stammered, feeling the weight of his circumstances pressing down on him. "Please, Jose," Emma chimed in, her voice sweet and earnest. "I want to eat with you. You're my hero." The sincerity in her eyes melted his reservations. "Well, if it means that much to you, I suppose I can't say no," he said with a smile, feeling a strange mix of embarrassment and delight. As they walked together to a nearby restaurant, Jose was acutely aware of his ragged clothes and unkempt hair. He felt out of place amidst the polished sidewalks and elegant storefronts. Mr. Thompson engaged him in conversation, asking about his life, and Jose found himself sharing snippets of his past. The dreams he once had, the family he lost, the reasons that led him to the streets. "Sometimes, it's hard to believe I was once in a different world," Jose admitted as they settled at a table inside the restaurant. "I had a job, a home. But life, it has a way of turning upside down when you least expect it." "I can relate to that," Mr. Thompson said, a flicker of understanding in his eyes. "Life can be unpredictable, but it's how we respond to those challenges that defines us." As the waiter approached, Mr. Thompson ordered a feast, and Jose felt a pang of guilt at the extravagant meal. "You really don't have to do this," he insisted, but it was too late. The food arrived, a colorful array of dishes that filled the table with inviting aromas. "Just enjoy it, Jose," Emma said, her eyes sparkling with excitement as she reached for a slice of pizza. "You helped me, and now we get to eat together. It's like a celebration." The three of them began to eat, and as they shared stories and laughter, Jose felt an unfamiliar sense of belonging. Mr. Thompson asked about the neighborhood and the challenges faced by those living on the streets. Jose spoke candidly about the struggles, but also about the community he had found among his fellow homeless friends, the small acts of kindness that still existed, the bonds formed through shared experiences. "You know, I've learned that even in the darkest places, there's light," he said, his eyes glimmering with passion. "People care, even when it seems like they don't. It's what keeps me going." Mr. Thompson leaned back in his chair, visibly moved. "You have a gift for seeing the good in people, Jose. That's something not many can do. It's inspiring." As the meal progressed, laughter filled the air, and Jose felt a warmth spreading through him, wrapping around his heart like a comforting blanket. For the first time in a long while, he felt seen, not just as a homeless man, but as a person with a story worth sharing. "Jose," Mr. Thompson said, his tone serious yet gentle, "I want to help you. There's so much potential in you, and I believe you deserve a chance to get back on your feet." Jose's heart raced at the prospect. I don't know what to say," he stammered, overwhelmed by the kindness directed toward him. "Just think about it," Mr. Thompson replied, his eyes sincere. "You have something special, and the world could use more people like you." The conversation continued into the night, the bonds between them growing stronger with every shared story, every laugh, and every moment of understanding. Jose realized that perhaps, just perhaps, this was the beginning of something new, something hopeful. As Mr. Thompson leaned back in his chair, a glimmer of hope danced in his eyes. "Jose," he began, his voice steady and warm, "I want to offer you a job at my company. I believe everyone deserves a second chance, and I see potential in you." Jose's heart raced, a storm of emotions swirling within him. The notion of working again felt foreign, almost surreal. He looked down at his worn-out shoes, then into Mr. Thompson's earnest gaze. "Sir, I don't think I'm worthy of such an opportunity," he stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. Nonsense, Mr. Thompson insisted, leaning forward. You helped my daughter when she was lost. You showed kindness when you had little to give. That says more about your character than any resume ever could. The weight of Mr. Thompson's words hung in the air, but Jose couldn't shake the feeling of unworthiness. I've been on the streets for so long. I don't know how to fit back into society. Mr. Thompson's brow furrowed. You'll never know unless you try. Everyone has a past, Jose, but it doesn't define your future. Let me help you. Just then, Emma burst into the room, her small face lighting up with joy. Daddy, you're not going to leave Jose, are you? She pleaded, her big eyes brimming with innocence. Of course not, sweetheart, Mr. Thompson replied, ruffling her hair. We're just discussing how Jose can join our family, our work family. Jose felt a swell of warmth at Emma's words. I appreciate your kindness, both of you, he said, swallowing hard. But I need to think about it. Take your time, Mr. Thompson assured him. But remember, opportunities are rare. You have something special, Jose. Don't let fear hold you back. As Jose left the office, the weight of the decision pressed heavily on his shoulders. The bustling sounds of the city enveloped him, but his mind was elsewhere. He wandered along the streets, each step echoing the doubts that filled his heart. Who do you think you are? A voice sneered from behind. Jose turned to find a group of men in suits, their expressions dripping with skepticism. One of them, a tall man with slicked back hair, stepped forward. You think you can just waltz into a corporate job? Look at you. Jose felt his chest tighten. I'm just trying to find my way, he replied, his voice steady despite the tremor within. Your way? You mean back to the gutter? Another chimed in, laughter rippling through the group. You'll never fit in with us. Jose stood his ground, the fire of determination igniting within him. I may not look like you, but that doesn't define my worth. I have a chance to change my life, and I won't let anyone take that from me. The men exchanged glances, their laughter fading. Good luck with that, the slick-haired man scoffed before turning away, leaving Jose with the remnants of their cruel taunts. Alone, he leaned against a lamppost, grappling with the weight of their words. Could he truly prove himself in a world so quick to judge? The thought of returning to the streets haunted him, but the memory of Emma's smile and Mr. Thompson's encouragement urged him to rise above. Days passed, filled with contemplation and self-doubt. Jose stood at the crossroads, torn between fear and hope. The job offer lingered in his mind like a flickering candle, illuminating the darkness of his past. Finally, one morning, as the sun peeked through the clouds, casting a warm glow on the city, Jose made his decision. He walked to the office, his heart pounding with every step. As he approached Mr. Thompson's office, he took a deep breath, steeling himself for the moment. I've thought about your offer, he said, entering the room. I want to accept it. Mr. Thompson's face broke into a wide smile, the kind that radiated genuine joy. That's wonderful, Jose. You won't regret it. But just then, a shadow crossed the office as one of Mr. Thompson's associates entered. A skeptical look etched on her face. Are you sure this is a good idea, Tom? Hiring a homeless man? What will the board say? Jose felt his heart sink as whispers of doubt echoed in the room. I can assure you, I'm not a liability, he interjected, his voice firm. I'm here to prove myself. The woman raised an eyebrow, crossing her arms. Prove yourself? You think that's enough to earn our trust? Jose's resolve wavered, but he stood firm. I believe everyone deserves a chance. I promise I'll give my best. Mr. Thompson placed a reassuring hand on Jose's shoulder. This is about more than just a job. It's about redemption and belief in one another. As the tension hung in the air, Jose felt a flicker of hope igniting within him. Despite the doubts of others, he was determined to embrace this new chapter, ready to face the challenges ahead. He vowed to prove himself, not just to them, but to himself. As the sun filtered through the high-rise windows of Thompson Enterprises, Jose took a deep breath, stepping into his new reality. The office buzzed with activity, the hum of keyboards and murmured conversations filling the air. He adjusted the collar of the shirt Mr. Thompson had gifted him, feeling the fabric scratch against his skin. a stark contrast to the tattered clothing he was used to. Despite the clamoring environment, an unsettling knot formed in his stomach as he approached his desk for the first time. "Hey, look who's here!" A voice called from across the room, laced with sarcasm. A group of co-workers exchanged glances, their expressions revealing skepticism rather than welcome. Jose swallowed hard, his heart racing. He had anticipated resistance, but the open disdain was more than he had prepared for. "Do you really think he's cut out for this?" Another voice whispered, loud enough for him to hear. "What kind of experience does a homeless guy have in a corporate office?" Jose forced himself to focus on the task at hand, sorting through stacks of papers and learning the ropes of his new role. He had a job, a chance to rebuild his life, and he wasn't going to let their judgment shatter that. Just then, Mr. Thompson entered the room, his presence commanding immediate attention. "Good morning, everyone," he announced, his voice warm and inviting. "I'd like you to meet Jose, who will be joining us on the team. I expect you all to support him as he gets acclimated." A few murmurs of reluctant acknowledgement followed, but the skepticism lingered like a thick fog. Jose felt a flicker of hope as Mr. Thompson gave him an encouraging nod. "You've got this, Jose," he whispered, a hint of determination in his tone. As the days wore on, Jose put in every ounce of effort he could muster, arriving early and leaving late. He quickly learned the office dynamics, navigating the complexities of deadlines and team meetings. Yet, despite his hard work, he found himself the target of snide remarks and veiled comments. "Maybe he can't even handle a simple filing task," one coworker muttered to another, loud enough for Jose to overhear. Each comment stung like a sharpened blade, but he steeled himself, reminding himself of the purpose behind his presence. He was here to change his life, to prove that kindness could lead to redemption. Meanwhile, Mr. Thompson faced an escalating pressure from his business partners. In the sleek, glass-walled conference room, they leaned in, their voices dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Are you sure this is a good idea, Thompson?" One of the partners, a stern-looking man with a penchant for suits, questioned. "This is a business, not a charity. That man is a liability. He doesn't belong here." "Jose is a good man," Mr. Thompson replied firmly, his brow furrowing. "He deserves a chance. You all need to see beyond his past." "Beyond his past?" Another partner scoffed. "What if he messes up? We can't afford that risk. Our reputation is on the line." Tension crackled in the air as Mr. Thompson stood his ground, determined to defend the man who had unexpectedly touched his life. "I believe in giving people second chances. We've all made mistakes. Jose is demonstrating the very qualities we should value: kindness, resilience, and humility." The pressure mounted as the partners continued to voice their concerns, casting doubt on Jose's position. Meanwhile, Jose remained blissfully unaware, focused on his tasks and the few moments of camaraderie he shared with Emma when she visited the office after school. Her laughter was a balm for his spirit, a reminder of the innocence and joy he was striving to reclaim. One afternoon, as he was organizing files, he overheard snippets of conversation from the nearby break room. His heart sank as he recognized his name among the hushed tones. "I just don't trust him," one voice said. "He shouldn't be here. He's not one of us." The words cut deep, and in that moment, Jose felt the weight of their judgment pressing down on him. He couldn't shake the sense of inadequacy creeping in. Taking a deep breath, he decided it was time to confront Mr. Thompson about his fears. Knocking gently on the office door, he entered, finding Mr. Thompson reviewing some documents. "Can we talk?" Jose asked, his voice trembling slightly. "Of course," Mr. Thompson replied, looking up with genuine concern in his eyes. "What's on your mind?" "I've been hearing things about me from the team," Jose admitted, feeling vulnerable. "I'm scared they think I don't belong here. I don't want to let you down." Mr. Thompson leaned back in his chair, thoughtful. "Jose, you are not defined by what others think of you. You have immense worth, and I see that every day. Don't let their doubts cloud your vision of who you are and what you can achieve." Jose's heart swelled with gratitude at the reassurance, knowing that in Mr. Thompson's eyes, he was more than just a former homeless man. He was a person deserving of opportunity and respect. a chance to rewrite his story, one act of kindness at a time. As the sun began to dip behind the high-rise buildings, casting long shadows over the bustling office of Thompson Enterprises, a critical incident unfolded. The air was thick with tension as employees scurried about, preparing for the end of a long workday. Jose, now somewhat accustomed to the chaos of corporate life, was organizing a shipment of supplies for a charity event that the company was sponsoring. His heart swelled with pride. He felt he was contributing to something larger than himself. "Jose, can you check the inventory in the storage room?" Mr. Thompson called out, his voice cutting through the noise. The older man's face radiated a mix of confidence and concern, especially with the upcoming charity event looming. Jose nodded, eager to help. As he entered the storage room, he noticed a few boxes teetering on the edge of a high shelf. Without hesitation, he climbed up to stabilize them. Just as he reached out, the shelf wobbled precariously. In that split second, Jose's instincts kicked in. He secured the boxes and leaped down, but not before a heavy crate beside him tipped over. "Watch out!" he shouted, just as the crate crashed to the floor, narrowly missing a passing coworker. The room fell silent, eyes wide in shock. Jose's quick thinking had averted disaster. "Wow, that was close," one employee remarked, breathing heavily. "Good job, Jose." Mr. Thompson rushed in, his expression shifting from alarm to admiration as he assessed the scene. "You saved us, Jose. That was incredible." The room buzzed with murmurs of appreciation, and for the first time, some of the skeptical co-workers began to see him in a new light. "Maybe he's not just some homeless guy after all," one whispered, his tone begrudgingly respectful. As the initial shock wore off, Jose felt a swell of gratitude wash over him. He had not only protected his colleagues, but also proven his worth. Mr. Thompson approached him, clapping a hand on his shoulder. "You've shown us today that your instincts are sharp, and your heart is even sharper. I'm proud to have you on my team." However, not everyone shared in the celebration. In the corner of the room, a figure scowled, his jaw clenched in jealousy. Mark, a rival employee who had always looked down on Jose, felt his anger boiling over. He was determined to sabotage Jose's newfound respect and success. Later that evening, as everyone started to leave, Mark devised a plan. He discreetly altered the inventory records, creating false documentation that would implicate Jose in a supply theft. "This will teach him a lesson," he muttered under his breath, a malicious grin spreading across his face. The next day, the atmosphere in the office was charged with apprehension. Mr. Thompson called a meeting, his brow furrowed with concern. "We've discovered some discrepancies in our inventory," he announced, eyeing Jose with suspicion. "Jose, can you explain why the records don't match?" Jose's heart sank. "I don't know, sir. I've been meticulous with my work," he stammered, uncertainty creeping in. The air was thick with tension as colleagues exchanged glances, some whispering behind cupped hands. As the accusations piled up, Jose felt the weight of despair pressing down on him. "Please, I swear I didn't do anything wrong," he pleaded, desperation lacing his voice. "I've come too far to be treated like this." Just then, a voice cut through the tension. "Wait." It was Emma, Mr. Thompson's daughter, who had been visiting the office. "I saw Mark in the storage room the other day. He was acting strange. I think he might have done something to frame Jose." Mark's face turned pale, his eyes darting around the room as he realized he was cornered. "That's ridiculous. You're just a child," he spat, attempting to deflect the blame. But it was too late. The truth began to unravel. Emma's words had planted seeds of doubt in Mr. Thompson's mind. After a tense investigation, it was revealed that Mark was indeed Mr. Thompson's estranged brother, harboring a grudge against the family for years. "Your actions are unforgivable, Mark," Mr. Thompson said, his voice firm. "You're fired." With the truth finally out, Jose felt an immense sense of relief wash over him. He had been vindicated. Mr. Thompson turned to him, the warmth returning to his eyes. "Jose, you've proven you're worth time and again. I want to promote you and give you more responsibilities within the company." Tears glistened in Jose's eyes as he grasped the magnitude of the moment. "Thank you, sir. I promise to use this opportunity to help others," just as I was helped. In that moment, Jose realized that true wealth lay not in money or status, but in the connections forged through kindness and the courage to stand up for what is right.